What's up, y'all? Cliff, Chandra here, and we got a special guest today, Chris. Gonna be a fun podcast. This is not gospel. All right, it's gonna be a fun day today. If you are new to the channel, if you're brand new with us, we just broke 60 subscribers. I'm gonna brag about it. Coming from 10, that's huge for us. We are thankful for every sub. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Click the notification bell and try to make the most of your subscription. The way you can do that, if you enjoy the topics we talk about, we watch and we comment and we respond to basically every comment on the videos. So if there's something you want us to talk about, write it in the comments in the section and we'll talk about it. That's how you can make the most of your subscription, I think, other than just enjoying the content. If you'd rather just enjoy the content, then that's great too. Just like every video and be totally awesome. All right, so now you're annoyed with what I said right there.
No.
Chandra, you're my manager. It's like you're my manager now. I do something, you're like, well, you shouldn't have said that.
I don't censor him, I promise.
Yeah. Well,
Chris Rogers. So what do you do now?
I'm a teacher. Yeah, I've been teaching for 6 years. I teach standard physics, AP Physics 1, and AP Physics C, E&M.
Dang.
Wait, so is that high school or college level?
Well, it's college level physics in a high school.
So it's so AP classes.
Yeah, it's college,
Okay.
college level.
All right.
Yeah.
You were basically, I seem to remember it. How long did you? It's almost been like a decade since we hung out. Like
Yeah, in
somewhere
person for sure. I think that's fair to
I
say.
seem to remember that being your bag, like when you're young, like you wanted to
Math,
teach
yeah.
math.
Yeah, so I didn't take physics in high school. At where we're from, a smaller school, so it switches every other year, and I missed the year that physics was available, at least AP Physics. I took chemistry instead. And so then I got introduced to like physics more in college.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Nice. So dreams do come true.
Hey, no, I am living the dream. I wanted to be a teacher since 8th grade.
Oh.
And where we're from, there's not a lot of exposure. This is a big
Yeah.
deal. There's not a lot of exposure to other high-level professions.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest employers where we're from is the hospital and the school system.
Yeah.
For the most part.
We are not a metropolis. We are super rural. I mean, that's just, and here's the thing, you may speak into this. I have a theory on why, people talk about bad teachers, right?
Sure.
Like I
Yeah.
had this, they act like they go to work every day and they hate it, right?
Oh, no.
I have a theory of why that is. I think some people are institutionalized. I think that you spend your whole life going to school, having summers off up until you're 18 years old. Then, especially if they go to college and they don't know what they want to do when they go to college, they're like, but I love having summers off. I love spring break. So they go to college and like, well, what job, what career path can ensure me that my schedule and things don't change? And then they go become a teacher. And I think that's why, because it's not something you do, forgive me if I'm wrong, much like podcasting about Christian stuff, it's not something you do for the money. Like you don't do a teacher thing because you think you're going to have this exorbitant 7-figure salary.
Right.
Like you would think that
It's not going to happen.
yeah, you would think you're doing it because you're passionate about teaching kids and you love it. But there's so many teachers that act like they hate it sometimes. You're like, they go to work with the worst grimace on earth and they can't stand their job. So why did they get into it? I mean, I can understand sometimes people hating their job that makes them $1 million a year. It's like, I hate this job, but I go to bed with a pillow full of $1,000 or whatever. I'm set. I can understand that more than I got a job that pays middle class kind of salary and I hate it. Like that. But so I think some of them are institutionalized. Like
I think some people just like power. I think they grew up with a teacher in front of them and they wanted to be the teacher. And
you think it's like bad cops? How some cops are bad cops?
Well, there are some teachers who like that power trip, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
So
weird.
see, I love cops here. I do back the blue. We do need some police reform, but there are some bad cops. There are bad eggs in
And
every
bad
scenario.
teachers.
Yeah. And bad teachers. I was also saying is like the bad cops that when they pull you over for speeding, it's like you literally just robbed the bank.
when there is a good teacher, though, it can be life-changing, which is wonderful.
Yeah, and those things are hard to measure, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't find that on some metric, right? Those are
How many, I don't know how your school days broke down. Do you do like 8 classes a day or 4?
there are 8 periods, yeah.
8
and so I
periods,
teach
wow.
and so 6 a day.
So you have a lot of kids coming through your class every day.
And you're in a very, very urban area.
Suburban.
Suburban.
I'm at
Okay.
a really nice school, really nice public school. Yeah.
This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. And I literally just filled my sinuses with coffee. Like as I was trying to talk while swallowing, I was like, oh, it's just not good up in here now. But anyways, so what are the noticeable differences of how school? Are there curriculums and things that you're like, what? Or is it just how noticeably different it is from when you were in high school? That's 12 years or so.
Yeah, it's weird. I haven't really thought about that question much, like how
Have things been
different.
about the same from when you went to school to now?
Some things are the same, some things are different. I mean, the school I teach at is 1-to-1. All students have a laptop that's provided by the school. That's a little
Wow.
different.
Isn't it amazing, social media and all that, how much that has changed everything? We had a technology room, and you go in there
Yeah.
And
and
then, you had one room, hey, you learned how to type. Now
And you
everyone's
played
got-
the Oregon Trail.
Nice.
oh, when we were young,
Yeah.
yes, it was the floppy disk Oregon Trail. I remember when the floppy disk, the big ones, went from the big ones to the small hard ones that could hold more data. I remember that was like, whoa, this is a big change. You can get all kinds of really cool games on there.
Yeah, I don't think I can say anything about. I don't have anything big and profound to talk about when it comes to what's different.
Well, you're
12
on a
years
different
later.
side of it now, though. You're on the
Yeah.
professional side versus being
Yeah.
educated.
I think some curriculum's the same. I also am in Tennessee and not Kentucky now. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
are there things that you think kids could have got away with or teachers could have got away with when we were in school that now the guidelines are shifted and it's like, no.
Yeah, well, I think an easy example is just how prevalent cameras are, right? Or saying things and how sensitive some people can be. Like I said damn it one time in class, and that made its way to the principal.
Wow.
And I
You
didn't
got
say it
written
to a
up?
student. I said it to the class. I was like, it was like end of the year, it's like trying to just get stuff done. I was like, damn it, let's focus. It's my first or second year. And there was a girl in the class, and she was just like kind of sensitive. And then so apparently that made its way to the principal. He emailed me that we need to talk, and then
So but it worked out all right.
yeah, it worked out all right. Yeah,
So for the record, you can swear in school and it works out all right.
yeah, that's it. Just you gotta have a good principal.
A friend of mine, we were talking about bullying in school, and that's been a huge thing for the past decade, like
Yeah.
cranking down on bullying. I know that it was maybe in Oregon or somewhere like that where they banned chanting airball from basketball games when somebody makes an airball.
Oh, that seems so lame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, it turns people into these, like, I've coined this phrase. I've said it a few times. I'll say it again. Like thin-skinned, weak-willed potato people.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
soft-bellied potato people that like you can't handle a joke.
Yeah.
You can't handle anybody picking at you. Like your armor is so thin that somebody says anything and you just go berserk. You can't handle it. And a buddy of mine, I don't condone this, but I'm going to share his thought. He said he feels like they need to hire bullies in school. Like pay kids
Undercover bullies.
bully
I think, like,
undercover
21 Jump Street. They got they got like a middle-aged adults coming in, but they're like kids are bullies.
Yeah, and they're bully. He said, I feel like they should pay bullies or have secret bullies in school that their whole mission there is just to bully kids a little bit and pick at them to make them tougher. And I don't condone what he said, and I don't condone bullying, but I do think that a certain degree of it, you don't get any stronger by Jordan Peterson. I read all his books and stuff.
Yeah.
He says, do you want your kids to be safe or do you want them to be capable? Like safe or competent.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Safe or resilient. And pick one. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like a resilient. I want my kids to bounce
Yeah,
back.
because the universe is not safe. It's not going to be
Yeah.
safe, right?
Like with you personally, you know how everybody comes from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
As a teacher, are you looking at the class going, oh, you can tell they come from kind of a sad situation. Maybe I need to put more energy into that person? Or do you just kind of ignore that background?
No, sometimes it feels noticeable. Or as an educator, you get emails from counseling say, hey, this student has had this experience recently, a parent passing away, just like keep an eye, just like be aware of that, or other things. Hey, this the student has left. They're going to be in a different education environment because of different reasons, and they come back, and you should be aware of those.
With 8 periods a day, it doesn't seem like you'd have a whole lot of time to
Yeah, not per day, but you are with them every day, right? And so,
Yeah.
like it
Adds up.
grows. Like and I take a lot of pride of trying to learn their names as fast as possible.
Oh, I would be horrible at that.
Yeah,
I would.
I feel like I'm pretty
hey,
good.
buddy.
Yeah.
Do you give them assigned seats, or do you let them
That's
sit
the
where
good,
they
yeah,
want?
I can be very boring. I can be very boring in the sense
You're
of
like, structure works for me,
Yeah.
so it's gonna work.
yeah,
for
at
you.
least at the beginning. So at the beginning, it's rows and columns, alphabetical order, and
That
then
would
it's
help me.
groups, and then I let them choose their own groups, right? And then I'm circulating the room, and it's really.
I hated when
for
teachers did that because
groups?
I was
Oh, so
I
sorry.
felt like
And-
no
'cause
one
you've
was
got the-
gonna pick me.
He's got
Like-
West Side Story in his classroom. He's got the Sharks and the Jets, and there's
Yeah, but I'm glad I teach when it comes to like ideology and stuff. I'm glad I teach physics. It's because like I don't talk about anything that people disagree
Yes,
with,
yeah,
right? Except
okay.
maybe the world being round versus flat, which I try to be facetious during that time.
well, I have a take on that.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not
can
talk about that, Chloe.
I can neither confirm nor deny that the Earth is either a globe or sitting here right
let's
now.
go. Yeah.
In
I don't
in
know.
the red room, I cannot provide you empirical evidence to
Yeah.
suggest
Oh,
that
man.
the Earth is
This is
flat
it. This is it.
or
Yes.
or round. I
Yes.
can't.
Hmm.
And that's what I teach my boys. I have this slogan. They ask me questions about the moon and whatever else. I say, well, science tells us that the moon is so many miles away, yada yada, and reflects the light of the sun. I said that's what we have learned. I'm not willing to say that we need to unlearn all of that because, again, I can't prove that the Earth is flat, and I don't necessarily believe that it is. But just because I'm told, I use the example of the Bible. There's plenty of people who say, "Oh, you only believe the Bible because you're told," right? And then, well, then, yeah, I've read it, and I was told the Bible and Jesus and all this kind of stuff. But then I have all these people who've experienced the faith and this, that, and the other, and I've begun to experience it myself. Well, then that's the same thing people say about the science. They're like, well, these people have experienced these, they've done these studies, and they've been to the moon, and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So the same reason that I would be skeptical about some of that is the same reason people are skeptical about religion. It's like, I can't necessarily prove it. It doesn't affect me in the slightest. If I go up in a rocket ship and I see the moon exactly where they say, and I see Mars, and I think that stuff's cool because I'd love to colonize Mars one day. That'd be, I mean, we played Mass Effect. How cool is that? Think you can travel at light speed? Now you're in a totally other galaxy. Like, I love it. It's great. If it's not that, and it is this little vault, let's say, where the entire universe like revolves around Earth, does that prove that everything was created specifically for us by some master designer? Well, of course. I mean, how else did that get here? But does it bother me if it's not that way? No. Like, I can neither confirm nor deny these suspicions.
I love this conversation. I love talking about this stuff.
I've deliberately avoided talking about like flat Earth theory and all that kind of stuff because of how people immediately it makes you sound. The moment you say it, even if you entertain it, it's like misinformation. The moment you entertain, it's not the narrative. So the moment you entertain it, it's like, oh, you're crazy. It's like,
I wonder if flat Earth is in the guidelines or not. Yeah.
oh yeah,
what?
maybe.
Is this
No, there's tons of flat Earth videos. You
Yeah.
can go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole for forever. So if
gonna
this
get-
video gets banned for flat Earth stuff, Chandler's looking at me like, it won't because we're not putting flat Earth stuff on YouTube.
Oh, dang. No, so I do not advocate for any flat Earth. I'm not advocating.
Are
for
you
it,
open to possibility though?
No, so
No, he said no. So
But this is a good context to talk about what it means to know and
Yes.
what it means. Yeah. So this is what. So if I do start making online content, this is what it's really about. It's about epistemology. What does it mean to know something? And at the academic, philosophical, technical terminology level. But yeah, you said you'd have to prove it, and then so I've been teaching physics for 6 years now, and I also I love just watching video essays and reading stuff about epistemology and philosophy, and something I thought was really nice is when you have science. Science is about I ask my students what's the purpose of science, and sometimes they'll say, oh, it's about solving problems. I'm like, no, that's engineering. Science is about constructing knowledge.
Learning. It's like learning.
Yeah,
Right?
it's the methods by which we construct knowledge. And then I would, in high school, you have.
So does it irritate you when people go, trust the science?
Oh, and that's another thing to talk about. Yeah, so I'll try to make this fast because there's plenty more to talk about. But something I feel like is a Rogers original, right? Something is we
Patent pending.
Yeah. We separate science and math in high school,
Okay.
but really both of those. Science is actually there's the abstract sciences like math and logic,
Yes.
where you can prove things, and then there are the physics, chemistry, biology, and those are the physical sciences where you don't prove things, you only increase your confidence. So if you want to prove something,
Like it's like gravity.
you're in math and logic,
How-
and then other things about collecting data and building confidence.
Yeah, I would think, and I could be wrong, could be speaking out of ignorance, because I study more.
I'll help you out.
I study more the socio-political kind of those kind of things in my downtime. That, and I watch Baby Shark and bathroom humor videos because I got 3 boys. But I would think that gravity is is one of those things that's like, is it still the theory of gravity or the law of gravity? Because it's something that it's basically virtually impossible to prove right now, to the point of where you prove it empirically, but you just increase your confidence with it over and over. If somebody says, well, because gravity, it's a concept that our understanding of it is not there. We don't fully understand it.
Yeah, and this is a matter of semantics sometimes, language, laws, theories, hypotheses, principles, and it's kind of confusing for my students as well, because we learn about laws of motion and then theories and stuff like that. And also the way we use the words in common language, like, well, theoretically, this, if this was the case, this would happen. And sometimes I think, should we be using the word hypothetically? So like, I think just in common language and even at the academic level, we jumble these words together and we're not as precise as we should be, I don't think.
Yeah. So, well, the study of knowledge, what was it? What was it?
Epistemology.
Epistemology.
Woo.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, man.
To me.
It's good stuff.
It's more interesting than you'd think it would be, because it's like learning about learning or studying about knowing things.
It is about as fundamental as it gets, right?
It's like we ran out of things to learn about. Let's learn about learning things.
Yeah,
and it's actually interesting,
Yeah, it's about as fundamental as it gets, and it's recursive. It's self-referential, and it can be confusing. In logic, you have different paradoxes and dilemmas that arise when you have self-reference, right? When you have a sentence like an autogram, the sentence, this sentence is false. It is self-referential, and you get a paradox. And so that's why things are really hard and murky. It's really hard to know things.
I think that's why a lot of people will say that, you can't believe in the Bible.
Yeah, people will say that.
Yeah, well, because it self-references too much. But that's one of the things we love about it.
Yeah.
That you can see all the, prophecies that's been proven over time.
Yeah. So even right now, we were talking, I think, last week when we talked, you said, so is this the end of the world kind of thing? And I was like, there are a lot of things going on, because we were talking about Ukraine and Russia and all that. A lot of things going on that can be interpreted as fulfillment of prophecies, that and end time prophecies. And to me, as a believer, it's like you either subscribe to the idea that Jesus just guessed on some of these things and got it really, really close, which seems preposterous. Yeah, I mean, really.
Or that people 2,000 and 3,000 years before Jesus guessed at what happened.
About what would happen in Jesus' time. It's like, man, that's whoever these people are. Let's find these people of our generation, and like, I'm pretty sure it's not Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is. Like, I'm teasing. She's awesome, by the way. Like, well, I'll say this: her life isn't riddled with some of the hypocrisies that I see other things. For instance,
I feel like
anybody
her
in
parents-
Hollywood,
She's young. She hasn't had time to
anybody in Hollywood, she
I feel like her parents are abusing her.
she travels a lot by sailboat,
I know.
which is
Because she
clean.
can't fly. Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. The big climate accord that they had here recently, there was 40 private jets flown there.
Yeah.
To that climate accord. It created as much carbon emissions as 1,300 people would for a year.
Ooh, interesting.
But it's for a climate conference.
Yeah.
They all could have traveled like a commercial, 1 flight, 2 flight, and whatever, and saved tons to hurt the environment. Leonardo DiCaprio starred in that movie Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up, yeah.
Super controversial. It's obviously satirical, and it's obviously about climate change. And he's had commercials about, like, we got to save the planet, yada yada, and all this kind of stuff. He spends a lot of time on his mega yacht, which burns 300 gallons of diesel fuel a day.
Well, you never know with celebrities what they actually care about and what they're being a mouthpiece for attention.
That's true.
And what they're getting paid to do. And
this is the frustrating thing to me. When I talk about a discrepancy on CNN, where I'm like, well, that didn't hold true. That's wrong. When I say Rachel Maddow and the other one, like, she didn't get things right for several years, whatever, they're like, well, I don't watch the news anyways. Like, that's not where I get my news. It's like, you say that, but they're the people of influence.
And downstream, you're hearing, downstream
The
through
same
other,
things that are said on CNN.
secondary,
whatever.
tertiary, and so on.
Right. And my qualm with that is with celebrities as well. When celebrities are the voice boxes, I've talked to educated, intelligent people, my friends, and they're like, well, I don't go to celebrities for my climate, whatever. Anyway, I'm like, the problem with your thinking is you're writing off the fact that they have the most influence. When LeBron James says this person's bad, 12 million people are like, like they're hissing at, like, he's bad. And it doesn't matter whether they know what they're talking about.
yeah.
It's just, that's the frustration I have with it, is like, if you're willing to sit and listen to Leonardo DiCaprio make a speech on climate change, then you should be willing to investigate his life and see if it holds up.
Yeah.
And when you see something like a mega yacht that burns 300 gallons of diesel fuel a day, you're like, okay, well, sorry, buddy.
Well,
Stick
for
to making great
someone
movies.
who likes to learn about learning, like, there is the accepted knowledge, and that if it comes out of a celebrity's
Generally
mouth,
accepted fact.
it's just taken for granted, and I hate taking knowledge for granted. I like to question things. Yeah.
About the school thing.
You have to be willing to look stupid, though, if you're going to question things.
Which is why I never question anything else. I don't have the personal armor for that.
Yeah.
There's a question I wanted to say about school. Get your thought on this. At the collegiate level, do you agree with or disagree when Trump was elected? The fact that
Where's this going?
the fact that so many professors gave their kids free passes because they couldn't handle the trauma of Trump being elected.
That's funny.
They couldn't handle it, so they're like, no, you're going to be able to get a free pass on this semester. Agree or disagree with that?
I do not know their lived experience. I'll give it experience.
It's like, I don't want to belittle somebody's trauma.
Yeah,
you know.
no, yeah.
But then, so my question is this:
That sounds ridiculous at the same time.
if we're okay with that, then my question is, where are all the conservatives when Biden got elected?
Yeah.
Their presidential candidate didn't win. Like, do you reckon any of them got free passes for the trauma for that semester?
Maybe they're not thin-skinned potatoes.
I'm sorry. I just had to say it because I was just sitting there thinking, like, of all how school has changed and how education has changed.
Yeah.
The other thing is some things about education haven't changed, and it's really ticked me off. One of my biggest qualms with my party, the Republican Party, that is my party, that's where I vote, but I recognize the bullcrap where I see it, is that we've basically taught the same things, done the same things. For instance, some of what you do, I think, is a very specialized thing. It's 1 in 1,000, 10,000, how many thousand people that's actually going to use some of the more advanced
Small
stuff
step.
that you're right.
Yeah.
Versus every single human in America is probably going to use the internet. Is probably going to create relationships. Is probably going to have to interview at some point. Why are these things? Is going to have to engage in social media at some point. Why are these things fringe things that you can take a special course for or whatever? Creating independent wealth, for instance, like teaching people the ways to work the markets in this kind of at a young age. Why are these things the fringe courses, and something like what you're doing should be probably at a college specific, like you go to you build the brains for that, like the guys who want to go there and they change the world in mathematics and stuff like that.
I would say I do teach those kids.
Okay,
I do teach.
okay.
Yeah,
right,
I
because
teach
it's
some of the
AP,
top-
so they gotta.
Yeah, I teach some of the top percentile. I would. Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
But so for me, it's like I don't know that in my whole life I needed like some of the advanced courses as you got into junior and senior year of high school that could have totally been rectified with something that was much more practical for the vast majority of people. I feel like some of our education system got to a point was in the 50s or whatever it was and never changed, using exactly the same format, exactly the same curriculum almost to one point or another, instead of saying, hey, the world is vastly different today than it was 10 years ago. We need to change what we're teaching our kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's what causes it. Why is that part of education not changed? It seems like that would make a lot of sense to change what you're teaching your kids in the most developmental ages, but not in the ideological sense. I'm talking about the academic sense. Like, what do they need to learn versus the stuff that's on the block right now, like CRT and transgender training and all this. It's like, instead of going that route, why didn't you teach everybody, like, change your academia, some portions of your academia, to where it's better benefiting kids for like career paths and to be productive in society and to have a good future.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of trade schools, and if
budget class, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That people didn't have to select. You know, like, I want to do budget, so let's find a special little course in my school only and do a budget class. It's like that should be part of your junior, senior year. It's like, you have to get a household, and this is how much money you make each month, and this is the bills, and by the end of the semester,
I think in 6th grade or something, we had a home economics class, and we learned how to fill out a checkbook in 6th grade, which you're not going to remember until you actually get a checkbook in your 20s.
Yes.
You know, like,
that's what I'm saying. And even that's not like an advanced budget for somebody who's supposedly a young adult or about to be an adult coming into adulthood.
I definitely think in high school you should learn more about, like you said, budgeting. Like, if you have a job, this is what the local apartments are going to cost, and what it's going to be like when you graduate college if you took out loans, stuff like that.
Loans and interest.
More
It's
often,
like, it makes me wonder if it's to encourage people to get into the broken system. In my opinion, the collegiate level, the way tuitions are 300% more expensive in the past decade, and you're not getting 300% better in education at the college.
Well,
most of these courses are being taught by the teacher's aide, the TA, because they've got a tenure system where the professor's like, I got 10 years, and my aide's going to do it.
I feel like if you keep going down this line of thinking, though, it gets into conspiracy level of they're training the masses to be the workers, you know? Like,
I'll keep them ignorant, keep them from being able to be competent and be independent, or be dependent upon the government, or dependent upon corporations.
Yes.
Yeah, I think different powerful structures. Yeah.
Okay, so my wife's been to more college than anybody I know, 9 years of college, and she's uncertain as to whether or not she wants our kids to go to college. They might just want to go to trade school or whatever. But at the same time, I've had people on the other end of the spectrum say, unless you go to college, you don't know how to think.
That's crazy.
They teach you how to think. And I'm like,
yeah.
More often,
why is my wife not wanting my kids to know how to think? That doesn't make any sense. Like, hold on. But I think, in reference to what you're saying, and maybe this is where I get a little QAnon or whatever, but I don't even. Don't condone QAnon. Don't condemn them either. Just, but literally, like, I think the narrative or the idea is, let's teach people that they won't even know how to think unless they do this sanctioned and, like, sort of government ordained, institutional flight plan. Whereas I only started reading stuff that mattered, that stuck with me, since I've been an adult, doing my own research, doing my own thing, and investing in lifelong learning. But I've had people who are like, oh, well, I've only been to like 1 year of college courses. It's like, you haven't been to enough college, man. Like, you can't even decipher the truth here. Like,
that tone, that level of arrogance to say that, man, that is dangerous.
It is. Yeah. I've literally had it said, well, if you've been to a little bit more school, anyone who's been to like at least a couple years of college or whatever, like they are taught how to decipher facts from fiction, and decipher the information.
No, they're taught how to believe in authority. And then there's a chain of authority leading up to a political party system, usually.
There are certain professions that have to have it. Yeah. The easiest way to become a physician, the quickest way, the most effective way, that doesn't take you 30 years of trial and error, and probably very costly trial and error, you're talking about human beings, is to go through the experts who've already done that. The easiest way to get in your situation where you can mold the minds of other people is to go through the courses and sit under the experts and whatever. There's something to be said about creating more of the same. And by more of the same, I mean we need good physicians. We need good doctors philosophers and psychoanalysts. We need these people, to help our psychological health and all this stuff. And a lot of those principles aren't going to change over 100 years. But there are lots of college, I think, and lots of people that it feels it's a little bit useless for what they're going to do in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that would be the different types of degrees people are going after, right?
Yeah.
And also, I don't know the significance or magnitude, but like the accessibility of student loans and the lack of skin in the game of the loan service providers.
Yes.
Proliferated a set of degrees that are kind of nonsensical, or they're not as practical or value adding. And hey, we're a wealthy country. Maybe we can goof off, right? Because we're so wealthy.
I think it's self-affirming.
But
I think for a lot of kids, when you go to college, you're told that you're smart. And when you learn this thing, you're told that you're enlightened. You learn this thing, and like other people are going to disagree with you, but it's because they don't know. They've not been here. And it's almost, Jordan Peterson calls it Pleasure Island. Like you go there and it's like,
oh yeah, I've seen that clip.
High school, but with more binge drinking or whatever, of thing.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because if they all represent $100,000 paycheck to the college, of course they don't want them to leave. They don't want to reject them and tell them they're not smart or they're not blah blah blah.
I will say, and I felt this firsthand. So I went to university. I was going to study mathematics, have a career in the Air Force, right? I was on scholarship with Air Force ROTC, and then I declined that scholarship, withdrew before the end of my first year because I wanted to be a teacher. So living the dream.
Wow.
And
it's something to be said when you look opportunities in the face and say, no, this is what I'd rather do.
Yeah,
That's super cool. That's integrity to me.
Yeah. And I feel like that was a big life decision that I made at some point in my life. Back
Were there
then.
people in your family going, "What are you doing?"
Well, not my grandmother loves me regardless, man. I'm very fortunate to be raised by a grandmother who has an overwhelming amount of love and support.
Yeah.
And
Grandmas are important.
I was thinking, and I don't want to. We're gonna get right back to your story where you're going, but I was thinking about that concept. People see life. They only recognize the suffering in life and the trials and tribulations. And as a Christian, and I think the reason that you don't recognize the blessings is because the blessings have become normal life. We've normalized the blessings. For instance, you having a grandmother who loved you unconditionally and like sewed that into you. That's a blessing. It's 100% a blessing that not everybody has.
Yeah.
And me having, for the most part, healthy children running around the house all the time. I only focus on most of the time, my kid can't use the potty, he just pooped in the floor, blah, blah, blah. My back hurts, my knees, yada, yada. I only focus on all the bad stuff because all the blessings have become normal and they're taken for granted. And so a practice I've been adopting here recently is like in my prayer life is reminding like, Lord, I haven't forgot about these things and I'm so grateful for these things. And if it's within your will, please do not take these things away from me because I love the fact that you bless me with these things. So that when you said that about your grandma, I was like, well, yeah, that's a blessing, and it'd be very, very easy to not recognize it, and forget about it because it's normal. It's normal life. You know? I don't know how many times when you were in that age gap of that 8 to 10 years or whatever, did you sit down often and be like, I'm so thankful for my grandma.
No, it felt normal, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, when you're wise, when you've lived some life, you've got the experience on you, you're like, that's a blessing that I have my grandma with me.
Yeah. Dude, she's I could go on about how awesome my grandmother is. Education is not all about being productive, like having a degree that is productive. There is something to say about university, like exposing you to the ideas. And I felt like I did study math and education, but I had this really powerful experience of being exposed to new things and just opening my mind and realizing there's an amount of rigor that can be deployed in thought. And so that was really good.
Diversity of thought. You experience diversity of thought.
Whether you end up believing it or not, just knowing what the terrain looks like, so you know how to navigate this world.
Yeah, and I affirm that 100%. I don't think that. Sometimes I think university is used to use these thoughts that are counter to your own and just to prove why that's the way the world is. And they don't even like it if you study them on your own. The interesting thing is that once you get out of university, it's like diversity of thought. I have found it becomes no longer a thing. It's like, oh, you can't think that. If you think that, you're out of here. We don't want to talk to you. It's like, well, whatever happened to coming to university, or that spirit, whatever happened to that spirit of sitting down and having a conversation of differing viewpoints and seeing where you come out with, you know. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this clip from Not Gospel, if you like this podcast, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check us out on social medias. Try to keep up with Not Gospel Studios and all the new projects coming up on Facebook. And we have Big Little Church, the Man of God series. We're right now in the process of working on book number 2. You can get that on Amazon, the first book. And as always, keep being awesome, because that's how God made you.